G'day folks, Spackman here. Bloody stoked to be here once again, and let's go. A video on failed hits and how to fix them. 4 different attacks that for one reason or another, be it human error or something in the base that wasn't quite expected, didn't quite get the triple, and then showing how a tiny tweak can get the job done. Now, they're from our recent CWL Elite war against Lost Metagaming, and unfortunately we didn't quite come across with a victory. We sort of fell a bit short at the end and didn't come home as strongly as we typically have been of late. So all credit to them, great war. Also, before we do get into this, guys, if you're liking these videos or you just want to support me, please do like and subscribe. I really appreciate it. And I'm planning on putting out, obviously continue to put out some fantastic professional top 12v12 hits strategy and also some analysis on various parts of the game, as I can get pretty in depth in terms of how I like to look at these things. Anyway, let's get into it. And the first hit is by Big Belly Ben on number 2. So all of these, if I don't forget or I don't stuff it up, are probably going to be on 2 times speed just because there's about 8 replays to go through and I don't want this to go for too long. So we're starting off with a Yolotrone and a fantastic hero funnel to clear up this whole sort of bottom section down here. To set up for the E-Drags as well as the Slammer to come right in on that Inferno Tower, then onto the Queen and clear up that sort of whole core area. This E-Drag portion of the hit actually gets more value than the triple does and almost takes down the Town Hall, which would have been really clutch, but just doesn't quite get there. One more E-Drag hit or a Lightning Bolt might have done it. And once that's done there, 44%, Town Hall activated, Big Belly Ben comes in, Triple B comes in from the right-hand side with the Lalo. And in the end, that goes through. But a Tesla farm pops up on the left, and that Tesla farm is what undoes this raid, as the loons just path all the way around rather than going straight to that Inferno there. And in the end, it does too much damage and whittles them down to the point where the Archer Tower and Expo can sort of finish them off. Doesn't quite get the job done. So a great initial entry with the E-Drags and Slammer, but due to the pathing caused by those Teslas, doesn't get the job done. Now Meeps, who's 6-packed, well done Meeps, well done, comes in to clean up and does the exact same start to the raid. Everything is basically the exact same sort of here. A bit of a lag there, weird. For some reason, the Queen doesn't actually go round as she did in the previous hit. Not sure why. So doesn't actually get as much value, marginally, from this E-Drag Blimp Slammer portion of the hit as in the previous one, but still does everything it needs to do, which is obviously what's most important. But then you can see Meep starts coming round from the left to the right, and because of that, being able to plan for those Teslas and drop loons accordingly for that. Not to mention the fact that the 2 stars guaranteed, so you can leave the Town Hall to the end and not be as big a risk. But as a result, the Warden ability through the Town Hall, and with all the loons left up right now, it's basically game over. There's just a couple of Archer Towers, the Tesla, the cannon there, and the minions everywhere else cleaning up. So really great adjustment. Now that we know where the Tesla farms are and the traps and everything, rather than going from right to left to right is definitely the answer. Well done, Meeps. Now the second one is, I had a shock. I was really upset with my efforts this war. The first hit I had a wall breaker fail, which was nothing to do with the base. It was all this guy. And just disappointing. And this one here, I think I just got unlucky. Although I planned this attack out, I just, it's all right to feel like you got unlucky. So the plan is to quake through this section here, which I'll do in just 2 seconds, and then you have access to each of the Inferno Towers, both sweepers, the Queen, 2 Expos, a bunch of Wizard Towers, etc. But what I didn't plan for, because I thought the queen would for some reason hug the left, or it wouldn't be a big problem, is the queen gets stuck on the right-hand side on those storages. And in my planning, I didn't really think that'd be a problem, but the perfect time, well, not the perfect for the defender, perfect for Papa Chat, not perfect for me, I happened to lure the clan castle right when the healers get in range of the Inferno. And it basically destroys them all. Not to mention, you notice I've forgotten a healer as well, so that never helps. So I finally realized in a tick I've forgotten my healer, but not to mention the Inferno is just wrecking all of those healers there. And my queen dies very shortly, and she had to get the enemy queen. It was just a must-do in the raid. I'm not on ×2. Let's speed it up a little bit. I don't want this to go forever. All right. Now the Lalo begins. This is still part of the original plan. Lalo from the left, around to the right, and take out the rest of the base. But obviously the queen was not meant to be up at this point. And I tried saving it. Still gets most of the base, but at the same time falls pretty decently short from managing to clear everything up. Not to be. We'll get out of that and we'll actually show you how this base can be tripled. From our cleanup superstar, the Clickers, who cleaned up another hit from mine in another video. So we'll go into it now, and you notice a couple different things in this army lineup. Firstly, there's no Quake and we have a jump instead, but obviously a jump can't get all the way in. Secondly, the wrecker that was just dropped replaces the slammer. And this was really great insight by Declick here to kind of see that the queen is able to get all of these storages, which ruined me in that first hit, down now rather than the queen passing to them later, and can then continue with the rest of the plan as was at the beginning, jumping into that sort of center there, clearing out all of those Infernos, because she's already taken 2 down already. And she ends up getting in this particular hit, I think, 3 wizard towers, 3 expos, the queen, the clan castle, both sweepers. Is there an air defense there? I can't recall, but it's gone now. And just so much value, all the Inferno towers, etc. And then the Lalo portion of the raid begins just as planned in the previous one. But because the queen's down, it's just so much easier, and it's basically overkill come the end of this. The queen stays up the whole raid, and there's just a huge amount of loons up. So really well done, Declick. Thank you for cleaning up my mess. Once again, it'll probably happen and many more times in the future. All right, we'll get out of that now. You can kind of tell how that raid is going to end. Next one, where are we? Mr. War, the fresh hit superstar, failed a hit. Now, I'm only happy about this for one reason. It shows he's human. War manages to fresh hit, 3-star, 3-star, 3-star all the time. But he comes in with a great plan. The Pekka Bobat coming in through this Inferno Tower, lining up so you can get the other Inferno Tower, the Eagle, and the Queen Clan Castle along the way to end up taking out the Town Hall. So as you can see, he's got everything down. He's got the King down, the Warden down, the Bowlers, the Peckers, the Healers, the Queen ain't down. You might see where this hit went wrong. He forgot the Queen. And so, he's human. Everyone makes mistakes. And that is 1 time speed again. Let's go 2 times. We don't need to sit around here forever. So he finally remembers the Queen, or realizes he hasn't dropped it, and brings it up. And still gets that left Inferno Tower down and drops bats here in just a tick. But in the end, because of the amount of stuff that's left up and, the value not being gotten by the main sort of army at the first place because the Queen wasn't there, he runs out of heals when he starts getting into the end part of this base with that Wizard Tower there and the Inferno Tower, and just doesn't get through. We'll speed it up because you can see here, this base isn't going to be cleared. So the previous 2 hits had a slight change to the plan. This one here, let's see if you guys can figure out What is changed in this particular attack to get a 3-star? If you guessed drop the queen with the rest of the army, you would be correct. And that's simply all it is done. Making sure the queen is remembered to be dropped. An incredibly uncharacteristic mistake from War Talon, but it's going to happen to everyone at some point in time. King down, warden down, queen down, bowlers, peckers, healers, etc. Everything as it should be. So it's the exact same raid. Obviously, the hound pops a lot earlier now that the queen's in play. The X-Ball on the right goes down a lot earlier than it did previously. The Eagle goes down a lot earlier than it did previously. The Town Hall goes down as it should. The Inferno goes down. And Seppi also comes in from the right-hand side with the bats rather than the left in this one. And you'll see that the reason for that is the fact that the rest of the wizard towers are either taken down or busy. And so he doesn't need to deal with them. It's making sure he gets rid of this Inferno and those harder to access areas first, because everything else is easily accessible by what is still left up, being 2 Peckers, the Ice Golem, the Warden, the Queen, etc. And a fantastic cleanup with every single bat still standing, I'm sure. There's many, many a bat there. Now let's have a look at this last hit. And I had to watch this far more than I thought I would have to figure out what actually was changed. So we'll go into this again, and we have again a Queen charge Lalo, but this time from Mark. And it's coming through this right-hand side and then jumping into sort of where that wizard tower is at about, what is that, 4:30, 5 o'clock. And ends up taking down the Eagle, the Inferno there, the enemy Queen, and that sort of business. And the King is dropped in a second to help sort of funnel that in with the jump. But this Inferno tower, it's just not fair. It only just got in range of the healers. Apparently it's in range the very second that the clan castle was engaged. So absolutely rotten luck. And he ends up losing 3 of his 5 healers, I believe. There's only 2 standing. And as a result, I think he drops a bit of more of a panicked rage in a second here, which I don't think he needed to. I think he could have held on to that one a little bit longer. But, I mean, so, it could have been used now a little bit deeper. And as a result, it's not covering the Queen right now, and he uses his ability. Still gets through the enemy Queen, but doesn't get this Expo down. Also, he manages to... I did miss earlier on, actually, I will go through this and I'll explain it in the next hit. So the Town Hall was absolutely wrecking his loons, and he ended up trying to keep his slammer alive through using the Warden ability, but it doesn't get the job done. And in the end, the Town Hall wrecked his loons. So I sort of missed that when I was going through it. But when we show the second replay, the cleanup, I'll explain effectively where Mark... the Lalo didn't quite work out for him and how that was fixed up by Tyrant Penguin. Mark also had 2 hogs, which he didn't use to lure the clan castle. Maybe he forgot or they had another planned purpose. But Tyrant in this situation, I think, drops also the healers a tiny little bit lower, but then drops the hog to lure the clan castle well before the healers have any chance of getting in range of that Inferno. But despite the fact that the same defenses are up as in the previous replay, the healers don't pass to that Inferno at all. So I wonder if they were dropped a tiny bit lower. And as a result, so he's got all healers up, and his rages can be placed a little bit more deliberately than in the previous hit. There wasn't as much need for panic as I think in Mark's hit. So this next rage encompasses the Queen when she takes on the enemy Queen. And as a result, she's also able to go through and get this Expo as well, which definitely helps. Okay, let's pause it before I forget. So in the previous hit, notice we're at 45% right now. In the previous hit, this Town Hall was activated, I think, the second this cannon up top here was destroyed. Because at the very start of Mark's hit, he also dropped 2 minions at the very top, and they cleared 4 of these structures. And as a result, the Town Hall was activated a little bit earlier, marginally earlier, but ended up wreaking havoc on his loons as they were getting through this area. Tyrant also decides to haste this area up here to get through that section a bit faster, and Mark used his a little bit later. It's fascinating how these tiny differences can make a huge difference. And now is also when Tyrant used his Warden ability, getting everything that's kind of entering into this damage sort of area over here, whereas Mark's used his a tiny bit earlier. So seeing what went wrong in Mark's hit and then adjusting for it worked out really well here. And there's just a huge amount of loons left up for this final section over here. And a really great adjustment from Mark's hit, which almost got the job done in itself. So there you go, guys. That's basically it for the video. Thank you so much again. Just a great illustration of how a lot of really slight changes can make a huge difference in hits. So sometimes, once you see where the traps are, you might change, your pathing of your raid. Like we went here for the Lalos, went from the right to the left, left to the right. We had the Forgotten Queen being dropped. My failed hit, rather than using the Quakes, the Wrecker to the jump was brilliant. And in this final hit, luring the clan castle early, not dropping those minions because of the extra % they built up, and then a little bit more of a refined plan to the Lalo after seeing how the first one went. So that's it today, guys. Thank you so much once again. As mentioned earlier, like and subscribe if you can. I would really appreciate it, and we'll see you guys in the next video.